Welcome to the Innovation Conversation, a podcast about innovators, both in business and real life. Hosted by myself, Ricardo Pascual, and Harry McDonough.
This podcast is sponsored by OpenExperts.com. Open Experts is a place to go if you're looking to talk with top experts from around the world. That is open-experts.com. This podcast is also sponsored by startupnetworks.co.uk. Startup Networks, it's an online forum where you can find all the resources you need to run your startup. From grants to investors to tips and tricks on how to be successful in your startup.
Hi, and welcome to another episode of the Innovation Conversation. Today we are joined by James and Gajan from RCK Partnersto. Welcome, guys. Can you please tell us a little bit more about yourselves and what RCK does?
Okay, well, I can start. So my name is James Gibson. I'm the Chief Commercial Officer here at RCK Partners.
And my name is Jajan Gajan. I'm an R&D tax consultant here at RCK Partners.
So RCK, we are a financial consultancy specializing in tax incentives. The business was founded in early 2020, so we're just over 4 years old, and we are based in the City of London on Lime Street.
Interesting. So this is, for me, a very interesting topic because I obviously talk with a lot of startups, a lot of investors as well, and I come to realize that there's actually not that much knowledge around R&D. So can you tell us a bit more about exactly what it is, how does it work? Because I have literally no idea.
So R&D tax, or the incentive itself, was brought in the year 2000. It was to incentivize innovation was their primary goal. How they did this by utilizing R&D related costs to reduce tax liabilities of companies. If the company wasn't paying any tax, then they could receive this benefit in another form, like a credit. Basically, what we're looking for is the qualifying categories in terms of the CURD guidelines is a project which seeks to advance science or technology. That's quite a vague and broad spectrum, but that's what providers like us are here to look at.
Yeah. So the scheme is all about incentivizing innovation in the UK, making the UK more competitive. Various other countries in the world, the majority of countries in the world, have some form of R&D incentive. Obviously, the UK's one is designed to attract more investment into the UK and stimulate our sort of tech base.
Mm-hmm. But is it for any company, or it needs to be very industry specific? So you mentioned what type of companies can actually apply for this?
So the criteria is really limited companies who are liable to tax. That's what we can claim R&D tax for. In terms of the qualifying criteria, in its broader sense, really is a project or set of projects which seek to advance science and technology through the resolution of scientific or technological uncertainty. Now, that is a bit of a mouthful, so I will break it down for the benefit of you guys. It's basically 3 steps. What's baseline? What's the baseline scientific or technology available in the industry currently? How you're going above and beyond that? What kind of R&D activities, research, development you're undertaking as a company? And any uncertainties or challenges you faced along the way? What kind of technological things you are uncertain of when going into the project itself? If we can qualify that, and if we can basically take that into a explainable approach to HMRC, then that's really it. It can be any company, large or small, and obviously the scheme's slightly different, but we'll get into that soon, I'm sure. But yeah, large or small in any industry, as long as they hit those main criteria of seeking advance for resolution of uncertainty.
Does it cost anything? I mean, how does it actually work? The process of applying, and then I'm assuming you do actually get some money in the end. So how long does it take as well?
Yeah, so we certainly try and make the process as straightforward and painless as possible for our clients. In terms of how the benefit is received, it's either a tax reduction or a rebate. So if you're in a sort of profit-making position and you've paid corporation tax, the R&D benefit can often reduce that tax. So it'll either be a sort of cash rebate on the tax that's been paid, or if you're yet to pay the tax, it's a reduction. If you're a loss-making business, then you can receive the benefit as a straight sort of cash injection to the business. In terms of time frame, yeah, certainly we always aim to have our claims turned around inside of 4 weeks, and then HMRC, as per their own guidelines, they advertise 28 days as the kind of turnaround, the processing time for their R&D claims, which is pretty quick. Certainly, though, at busier times of the year, those timelines get extended somewhat. But certainly from start to finish for our clients, we aim to have everything kind of resolved within 2 or 3 months.
Interesting. And, the role that RCK takes on all this, is it like more of an active role where you actually, handheld people all the way through the process, or is it more of an advisory role?
So in terms of the role itself, once the client's been onboarded by our commercial department, they will then obviously have access to them, but then we have an initial handover call. So that's when the commercial lead passes on some of the responsibility to the consultant. We have a relatively informal to formal first chat about the company, its nature, but that's mainly to do with getting to know you kind of approach, as well as the due diligence behind it. We explain the criteria, what we look for, what HMRC look for. In terms of specifically what I do is kind of help and provide support throughout the whole process to the client themselves. We find that different clients take a different degree and different approach for this process. Some may have done R&D before, but some people are ongoing claimers, or some people are completely new. Some small startups are completely new to the game. So it takes a very client-focused approach, and that's something that as consultants and us here at RCK are very dedicated and technically trained to do so, and hold them through and give support where necessary.
And we always try and link up the relevant consultant here at RCK with the client in terms of their industry background. We work with lots of software companies, and we've got a team of consultants with computer science backgrounds. So obviously they're speaking the same language. So obviously someone like Gajan here would work with our software clients, and we find that this makes for a smoother claim process. Everyone's understanding the sort of nature of the projects, and it means that we can get claims produced in a much quicker time than, say, if it was someone with a very different background that had to be upskilled in a whole new sector before being able to put forward a claim there.
Yeah, it's actually very interesting you say that, James, because I have had clients come to me potentially from other providers who say one of their main changing points that they came over to us was because they felt that their work wasn't being appropriately reflected, or they just didn't have the technical expertise to reflect to HMRC what the R&D was. So it definitely helps that we have those plethora of consultants trained in bespoke disciplines of science and technology to be able to actually extrapolate the data needed and to pursue this to HMRC, or perceive this to HMRC in a way they can both parties can understand.
Okay. I was just curious. Most companies, all companies should have an accountant or someone who does their accounts. Do they already do that? Is it part of the service they include, or not really? Or you actually need a specialist like you guys?
Yeah, accountants certainly do offer R&D tax as a service. Some of them do, and I would say that the numbers offering it are falling in response to greater scrutiny from HMRC, that many of them don't have the internal processes to be able to meet that scrutiny head on. I think the best way of looking at it is, obviously your accountant is a generalist. They have a wide variety of specialisms, but they're not technical experts, and therefore they sometimes struggle to be able to certainly support R&D projects with a technical narrative that is required from HMRC's standpoint to be able to enable this funding and to kind of release the benefit. HMRC obviously have a team that scrutinizes these claims. If they've not been put forward in a manner that meets all of their guidelines, then there's a much higher chance of a claim going into an inquiry. So that's typically why a client would use a specialist. They would use us rather than their accountant, because we're able to unearth greater R&D activities. So the claim size tends to be much larger, but also the security of the claim is greater, in that we're ensuring that someone with technical expertise has put forward the claim, and also that we've got an internal compliance team that are vetting the claims before they go in. And thankfully, usefully from our perspective, our compliance team is made up of ex-HMRC inspectors and also accountants. So they've been on the other side of the fence. They understand from HMRC's perspective what the rigors are and what the standards are that claims need to meet. And we are applying those own standards to the claims we submit before they even reach HMRC. So the chance of an inquiry is much lower than otherwise it would be.
Nice. Well, is this really taxable when you do get it? Do you then pay taxes on it?
Is the benefit taxable?
Yes.
For an SME claim under the R&D scheme, no, that benefit is not taxable. If you are a large company, so you claim under the RDEX scheme, then the benefit is received as an above-the-line credit, and therefore is taxable at the normal corporation tax rate.
Oh, I see. Okay, interesting. Obviously, different companies will approach you in different stages. But let's say I'm a startup. Just got started. I spent a lot of my, capital in, trying out a new product. How does the process look like from my side as a startup to then go and approach RCK?
So yeah, again,
at what stage actually do they approach RCK as well?
That's it. If you start approaching us, then what we'll do is we'll go through our onboarding process. Again, a commercial executive will be in touch and try and get you onboarded. Our letter of engagement's complete, which makes both parties bound, but also to protect both any data transfer, etc. After that approach, then you'll be onboarded with your consultant as well, and this is when the technical side of things becomes more prevalent. How I've worked and how we've worked with, let's say, startup companies is we go through the process alongside with them, because we feel like the R&D is currently ongoing, because you can, I'm not sure if you're aware or we've made this clear before, but you can claim back 2 years retrospectively. So we can look back at previous years. Startups tend not to have this. They may have been just incorporated, or they've already claimed for the retrospective years, etc. So what we can do is we can take a retrospective approach where we interview your technical leads, mostly through Teams, and get the majority of the data so we can write our technical narrative. Or we can take a more holistic approach and break down their R&D as they occur it. I mean, the process is very flexible and it's very client-orientated. We all appreciate, obviously, clients have different timelines, busy times of the month, etc. So yeah, it is a flexible process. We try and get claims turned around quickly, but that's for your benefit. But at the end of the day, it's a flexible process.
Yes. And if a lot of your audience are, say, at the startup phase, they've maybe not finished their first kind of year of trading yet, we would still encourage them to get in touch with us at this stage, because our consultants can offer some advice, some guidance on how to structure activities, how to record costs and projects in real time. So it does mean that when it comes to doing that first claim, which typically happens once the first year's accounts have been finalized, that information that's needed is more readily available. They don't have to sort of think back to what they were doing 18 months ago. They've actually captured a lot of those relevant qualifying projects at the time, so we can just retrieve those, and it does mean that actually putting the claim together is a lot smoother and quicker for all parties involved.
That's it. It's definitely more encouraged to do the process as and when it's fresh in your mind, rather than look back retrospectively. I mean, I can't even remember what I had for lunch yesterday, so it'd be exactly. It's good to do it during the process, and obviously, as James said, we can help and guide as relevant.
Interesting. And actually, I come across this every once in a while, which is if I'm a company from abroad and I'm just going to establish myself in the UK, even though I actually need to spend money in the UK doing R&D to then apply for the scheme.
So how we qualify costs is costs that have been incurred by the UK counterpart or the UK limited company. So any costs incurred in that period for that UK counterpart, even if they are subcontracting expenditure or they have recharge costs to their foreign counterparts, we can include those costs as long as these go through the profit and loss of the UK counterpart. There are more, obviously that's quite a simplistic approach. There is more technicalities involved. I won't go into that, I don't want to bore you here. But basically, if the UK companies incur in these intangible costs, we can claim for that as well as the UK company.
Oh, nice. Okay, so I'm very curious. What's the best success story you've had so far? What you can tell about? I don't know if there's like NDA you can.
Well, obviously we can't name.
No, don't name it. Just tell me like a really good story.
Okay, I can take this one.
Yeah, all right, go on then, go again.
So if we're looking in the software side of things, I've got a company, I've been working with them for a couple of years now. The R&D has really helped them out. So they were loss making, so they received it all in the form of a credit, so cash. They also had Innovate UK grant. So part of it actually went through the RDEC scheme. Again, this is where providers can come in to help split between RDEC and SME, because some companies can fall into both. But anyway, so they do very cutting edge stuff, in my opinion, very novel stuff. I don't want to go too much into it, but it's in the extended reality kind of world. I mean, as they're incurring this loss, this R&D credit has exponentially allowed them to carry on their business and grow their business. Most of their funding, they don't make any sales, so all their funding comes from obviously these grants, tax relief such as this. There's credit obviously from R&D. So yeah, and they're growing for the future. They've just put their most recent claim in, which is their biggest claim yet as of yet, which indicates their growth. Yeah, it's really good that UK startups and companies, innovated. That's what the scheme was here for. So yeah, it's good to hear them. They contact me on a daily basis as well, just to ask how I am. I'm a busy man. They need to know that, but no, it's really good.
Are there any industry where you cannot touch them? Like, I don't know, gambling. Obviously, there's always the red one, right? The ones you cannot, most people don't want to touch, which is gambling and other stuff. What about crypto? Because there's a lot of innovation, crypto and blockchain. Is that something that you can apply for, or?
We've certainly got clients in the crypto space, and actually we do in the gambling space. Funny you should mention that. Obviously, if it's grounded in software development, the actual what the software is used for is sort of irrelevant when it comes to R&D tax. If you're carrying out the R&D activities, then yes, you're eligible to claim. One of our big success stories actually is a software company that did serve the gambling industry, or do serve the gambling industry, and they had experienced an HMRC inquiry into their R&D claim through another provider had submitted their claim, and a sizable one. We're talking a number of millions of pounds that was locked up in this inquiry for over 2 years. And they instructed us to come in and kind of save the day. And actually, after a few rounds of correspondence with HMRC, we were able to defend the vast majority of that claim and secure the funds for them, which have then been reinvested into R&D. We do their claims every year, and we've seen their claims grow thereafter. And they're doing some really interesting work in terms of back-end software development within their space. So yeah, we can certainly work in the gambling industry. Crypto, we've got some interesting clients in crypto as well.
Yeah, a lot of blockchain technologies, distributed ledger technologies. Crypto is good. It's more whatever's cutting edge is currently innovative, but that doesn't therefore rule out R&D for companies which aren't. Because at the end of the day, like I said, the guidelines are just seeking to achieve an advance. This can be through replicating what someone else has done, but you just don't have the knowledge and, well, not you, but the industry doesn't have the knowledge and the capabilities to do that. Let's say, obviously Google and Amazon are inventing and innovating every day. That doesn't stop a startup which are mimicking what they do, but this information is guarded by trade secrets, etc. So the mimicry through scientific or technological means which are different, the duplication of existing services and products, these are also examples of an advance in the eyes of HMRC, which is often overlooked, we feel, and that's why a provider can come in, convey this argument in a way which is eligible for R&D for the thing. In terms of industry-specific stuff, some industries may be, advancing science and technology. Obviously there has been some I wouldn't say bad press, but erring away from what's scientific or technological, as long as you stick to a scientific or technological approach, rather than, it'd be difficult for a restaurant to claim they're making a scientific or technological advance. Yeah. They could be doing R&D in their own sense, but if it's not in the realms of science or technology, if it's not in a field of science or technology, then, it's not eligible for an R&D claim.
Interesting. It's quite, because I'm just thinking, what about the team itself? Do you have to fit certain criteria for your team to be able to qualify for this, or anyone can apply as long as they're actually building something in the scientific or tech?
So yeah, HMRC asked for the R&D activities to be conducted or led by competent professionals. So competent professionals are people obviously with either industry experience, professional experience, or even stuff like university degrees, etc. If you don't have certain competencies, it's very difficult to argue that you're undertaking R&D in a field of science or technology. Competent professionals is a very key category, and it is something that HMRC are looking for more and more. That's kind of the feedback we're getting back from other inquiries, etc. But that's generally it. The competent professional is a strong criteria there.
Interesting. And what was the worst? The worst story you have to. What's the worst story you have to tell us? Like the ones you really thought, this is not going to happen, and then eventually it turned out okay.
Really putting us on the spot there, Ricardo. I'm going to pass on to you.
Now you're putting me on the spot.
Yeah, exactly.
So do you mean a case of one that we didn't think there would be R&D and then we found it, or more
exactly
just someone you approached?
No, the cases where you thought there's nothing here, and then you start doing some research and you actually transfer them into a success story.
What the sort of weird?
You mentioned the gambling one, which was quite interesting because they had a lot of software, something like that.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, we tend to do a lot of due diligence on our clients before we onboard them. So obviously, we wouldn't start the claim process unless we were very confident there was going to be eligibility there.
Especially as we're the ones defending the claims as well. When they, if an inquiry response comes in, we also want to be confident that on both sides of on the client side and on our side, that the claim is as secure as possible. I have had clients where I've thought they've had R&D, but then the significance got progressively more and more, and the advance got actually a lot more technical once we delved into it.
Okay, that tends to be a dividing line.
And also, it's worth mentioning, which a lot of people are slightly unaware of. So, mathematics is now considered a field of science and technology associated with R&D tax relief, or eligible for, beginning 1st of April 2023, for accounting periods beginning on or after 1st of April 2023. It was not prior to this date, but now we can also claim for people doing mathematical sciences. So, equations, quants do it a lot as well. Equations, methodologies, processes in the field of mathematics to optimize processes, efficiencies, financial data, etc.
So a bank could actually apply for some R&D if they are developing a formula to create, some financial product, for example?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. It's an innovative approach. I mean, we've claimed for banks currently as well, but on their software side of things, the banks do, especially like fintech banks, do a lot of heavy development on their fintech side of things.
Certainly. We do a lot of work within the fintech space, and we've got a couple of hedge funds actually as clients who do employ a team of quantitative developers. And it's that kind of it's the algorithms they're building, which we can claim on. There's some really interesting work going on there.
So I guess AI will be ripe for you guys, right? Anything to do with AI is the perfect client.
That's great. Yeah, anything in depth in technology is more juicy. Anyway, I like it, but HMRC like to see any technology.
Yeah, and that's what the scheme's about. AI is obviously a new and developing technology, and the government are very keen that businesses in the UK are at the forefront of this, and they're the ones who are pioneering these new technologies, which are going to be so important in terms of how we sort of live our day-to-day lives going forward. So they absolutely want to incentivize companies in those spaces in the UK. Like London has got a great tech hub where we are sort of world leaders when it comes to fintech. We're doing really well in AI, and I think any government should be looking to encourage UK businesses to grow in these spaces. It will help the UK economy as we head into the next few decades.
Is there any area that you feel has been overlooked
through the R&D scheme?
Yep.
Well, I think sort of if we're looking at a macro level, the government, in response to some significant amounts of fraud and error in the R&D scheme, did change the rates you can claim at. And there have been some technical changes to the R&D scheme. Certainly for SME businesses, R&D claims going forward are slightly less lucrative than they used to be. And I would suggest that I completely understand why they made that change, but there's perhaps an overcorrection there, and it does mean that there are really strong businesses in the UK that R&D is a core part of what they do that have suffered as a result of companies claiming that shouldn't have been claiming. There was a very positive step from the government at the last budget when they announced that there would be an R&D intensive scheme to replace the kind of old SME scheme. And it does mean now that actually those businesses in sectors like AI, fintech, machine learning, biotech will still be able to claim at the higher rates. So it's good that they've they have corrected what I think was a sort of inaccuracy there. But it will be very interesting to see what the next government do with the scheme, whether there'll be any changes that come in.
What are your unique USPs?
Yeah, look, this is a crowded marketplace, I would say, for R&D advice. Obviously, you've got lots of accountants that do offer these services and lots of specialists such as ourselves. I think what has stood us apart and has meant that we've grown so quickly, we've had rapid growth over the last 4 years. We're up to about 100 employees now. Is we devised a sort of self-regulatory method, self-regulatory process backed by a compliance team. And we did this before any of our competitors. Now, what this essentially means is all of the claims that we are preparing are then independently vetted by someone with a sort of compliance background, someone who has worked at HMRC, understands what their guidelines are intricately, and can ensure that we are adapting our approach so that the chance of a claim going into inquiry are much lower. Clients have got a lot more peace of mind in terms of knowing that whatever we're claiming for, chances are that that's going to go through without any extra sort of pushback from HMRC. And interestingly, this method is one that really attracted the ex-Chancellor Lord Hammond to our business. Yeah, Philip Hammond joined as a senior advisor about a year ago. This was covered, I think, in the Times newspaper in an interview with him, where he made reference to the fact that R&D tax, whilst he was Chancellor, was a really big pain point for the Treasury. They knew that there was sort of fraud and error going on. A lot of it is down to it not being a sort of regulated market. So he really liked our self-regulatory approach, and he hoped that his role with the firm and the sort of subsequent media attention that would garner would encourage more companies to adopt a similar approach. And all of this would clean up the R&D scheme, which obviously then means that businesses can sort of make use of it, and it can effectively do what it's designed for, which is encourage businesses to innovate in the UK and to sort of grow and attract more inward investment into the UK. So I think that kind of self-regulatory method is really what has stood us apart from our peers.
If people want to reach out to you, how can they do so?
Well, I believe in the notes for this podcast, there will be a link to our website. That's probably the easiest way. Follow the link to our website. You can check us out on there, and there is an online form you can fill in, and then someone from my team will be in contact to discuss your business and how you can make use of R&D going forwards. Alternatively, you can certainly connect with me on LinkedIn. You can connect with Gajan, drop us a message on LinkedIn. That's absolutely fine, and we're happy to answer any questions anyone may have.
Okay, wonderful. And the website is rck.partners.
That is correct, yeah.
Wonderful. Gentlemen, it's been an absolute pleasure having you here. Thank you so much for your time.
This podcast is also sponsored by startupnetworks.co.uk. Startup Networks, it's an online forum where you can find all the resources you need to run your startup, from grants to investors to tips and tricks on how to be successful in your startup. This podcast is sponsored by openexperts.com. Open Experts is a place to go if you're looking to talk with top experts from around the world. That is open-experts.com.